To bring back Joshi and Desirex. So nice to get to talk to Copy. A little bit of a refresh on his situation from the beginning of the split. It's been a little bit, Joshi.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting before the interview actually started. He said he didn't feel like he was playing particularly well today. And that's one of the nice things about being on a team like this, right? Like, you have so many other players that you can kind of rely on. You don't necessarily have to play your best every single day. And while you would obviously like to, it's just natural, right? You're not going to be have every single day on stage being good. So, Cloud9, congratulations to them on bouncing back.
I also like the little statement he made about being willing to learn when he was talking about Shaden and Destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it sounds like a meme, but you gotta be willing to limit test. You gotta go past those limits and see what works, then dialing it back down. I think it's the right way to go.
Do you want to give him the wise words?
Lose is improve?
Wait, no, it was Messi is.
Oh, Messi is learning.
No, we're moving on. We're moving on. Anyway, Dignitas versus FlyQuest Academy is next.
My bad, my bad.
It's gonna be a fun one for sure. You don't even remember your own quotes. It's fine.
It's Julie Gilmer. It's
Fine.
Golden Glue's mom's quote.
Okay, well.
She's probably not even watching today because 100 Thieves were playing on the other stream.
Indeed. But talking about this next matchup, right, is a very fun one. I think Dignitas Academy are striving to find a lot of improvement throughout the split. FlyQuest Academy looking to continue a lot of the things that we've seen that are really important for them and a lot of the success we've seen. But looking at Dignitas Academy, we did get to hear a little bit from XU in terms of his mindset. So let's go ahead and listen in.
Admit that I'm getting carried by my team right now, so I think it's okay for him to say that. I don't really care. I think maybe I had a bigger gripe with the fact that you guys said that we were underdogs today. I think that's a little disappointing to hear. So hopefully in the second round robin, it won't even be close when it comes to comparing Dignitas and Immortals, because I don't want to be compared to them. They're not good.
Oh, wow.
Always the spice. Always the spice. Love it from XU, because you do see they want to prove themselves. They want to show that this Dignitas roster can really step up to the occasion. Something that, you know, we were showing their streaks last season, and coming into this one, it's been a bit of an up and down situation. Desirex.
I just want to throw it out there off of that segment. We didn't call them underdogs. We didn't call them underdogs. Please, XU, mercy. But
hey,
no.
It's burned in his brain. All right, that's all he knows you for. All right?
But I mean, what have we seen from Dignitas but really stand out individual performances coming out from every lane? I mean, you know Tony Top's talented. You saw it earlier with the Champions Queue stuff, but you've seen the performances that everyone has done, from XU to Insanity, Spawn and JJ, one of the most solid bot lanes. The only thing is, when it comes to working as a group, that's where we're not seeing Dignitas really come together, and hopefully we can see this as they are going against another team that's kind of struggling to find that synergy.
And I kind of want to walk back a little bit, because while I have been very impressed with Insanity, Spawn, and Tony, you know, actually said it. He admitted it. He's getting carried by his team right now, right? And that's one of those things where just as we were looking at CLG before and saying, you know, Triple and Jenkins are some of these players who have a lot more experience, we're kind of counting on them to really start looking good. XU, while he's not necessarily super experienced relative to Triple and Jenkins, he was somebody that we were looking at for our most valuable prospect early on. The only reason why Rafa didn't nominate him, because like, I don't want to appear biased because I'm a big Dignitas fan. It's like, well, that's okay. Like, XU might have deserved it, but that was spring XU. Summer XU is leaving a bit more to be desired.
And true that. And on the other side, FlyQuest Academy themselves had so many different conversations about them, and I think there's a lot to be said. You got the bot lane with cheat codes. You've got UG really performing to some very interesting expectations that we had for him at the beginning of the split. And I think when you take a deep dive at this roster, there's a lot to be proud of, Joshi.
Yeah, and I will say it this time. I do think that Dignitas are at least slight underdogs going up against FlyQuest, right? We know that FlyQuest as a whole, while they're a bit more veteran, we've seen Tomo, Diamond, Kumo all have opportunities to play with the FlyQuest Academy roster that went to LCS, and then UG and Spyrex are two of our very exciting players. We know UG actually was one of our nominations for most valuable prospect.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and you look at UG, I think it's in specific, you look at a lot of the strengths that you see in terms of the pathing, the macro decisions, Desirex, that I think you can be happy of.
Yeah, you can be happy, but I still don't feel like things are coming together the way they should for FlyQuest. You know, we had higher expectations, especially after week 1, where they started off top of the standings. They've been slowly declining now. I do like a lot of what they're bringing, especially in the bottom lane. Tomo and Diamond, they've been very creative with trying to figure out counters to certain lane matchups. But you know, you're still 10-6 at the end of the day when it comes to FlyQuest's record, and we were expecting a bit more from them.
Yeah, exactly. We did have a little bit of a deep dive into Yuji and his background, but as well as his successes. As last year we had him as our runner-up for most valuable prospect. So let's go ahead and listen in.
Potential prospects, we initially turned our attention toward those who consistently had moments of brilliance and demonstrated an aptness for the LCS stage. But we also considered those who displayed extraordinary growth within the 8 weeks of regular play, valuing their best days as a sign of what could be their potential down the road. This especially makes sense when looking at one of our honorable mentions in Yuji, the Mongolian solo queue prodigy for FlyQuest. Before debuting in Academy, Yuji had no prior competitive experience, and during the first 3 weeks of Academy play, it really showed. Yuji was struggling to adapt his strengths to a competitive team setting and finding confidence in his first few Academy games. Among all starting junglers, he was tied for lowest first blood percentage and ranked 2nd for lowest damage per minute. This all changed in week 4 when Yuji got to play Qiyana, a comfort pick which made use of his strengths as an assassin specialist and primary carry. After back-to-back wins on Qiyana, Yuji carried his newfound confidence and explosive playstyle onto his other picks. For the remainder of the split, he boasted the 2nd highest damage per minute, 3rd in first blood percentage, and even tied for 2nd highest jungle forward percentage at 24.8%. Yuji exemplifies the model of a prospect who may not be ready for the LCS stage tomorrow or even next split, but given his rapid growth, he could be one of the next LCS stars by 2024.
I appreciate Rafa getting to have that deep dive with Yuji as well, and getting to see a little bit of the background, but as well as the reason why this guy is a potential most valuable prospect in the years to come. So it's always nice to see Yuji on stage, especially this split. I feel like we have seen that growth, that level up, but still wanted to see some more. And on the other side of him, still wanting to see some more from a guy who we've all lauded, who we've said, you know, is a huge up-and-coming star in Academy, XU. And you can look at the good and the bad, Joshi, but the good you got to start with.
Yeah, Lawrence XU is like one of these players that we've been looking at for a while, as somebody that we knew had big opportunities to really impress us. And in spring, he looked really darn good. His ability to find odd timings for a lot of ganks kind of set him apart from a lot of the other junglers. But in summer, we're not necessarily seeing the same kind of like raw ability to just kind of play the game. The slower meta doesn't seem like it's been suiting XU, and he's been taking some fights that he probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's where you gotta weigh the good with the bad as well, Deserex.
Yeah, you gotta weigh the good and the bad, and some of the bad tends to resolve around the early game, and just how aggressive a lot of people can be playing into XU and just invading his camps. You know, you gotta have a lot of decision making. In this one, it's a 2-level deficit he tried to fight out for a second.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you know that this is the kind of mistake that it's not just XU that's been making. We've actually been seeing a lot of our lauded junglers kind of not performing to the expectations that we had of them going into summer, and that's one of those things where we've been seeing them get kind of caught out, go in and continue to fight when they really shouldn't, right? That's a situation where, as you called out, Dynasty had 2 levels over, and it was Olaf into the Viego, and as soon as Viego uses a stun right back on in, well, Tenacity goes, haha, you can't stun me anymore, and just runs him over. And that's the kind of thing that we need to make sure we aren't seeing anymore from XU.
Well, indeed. We will see how this jungle matchup pans out in this next series that we have. Dignitas Academy versus FlyQuest Academy is ready to kick off. So Deserex, Joshi, let's have some fun.
Bye, Lennon.
So, into this matchup we go, Josh. Dignitas Academy versus FlyQuest Academy. We didn't talk too much about the mid lane, which I think is a very spicy position between these two. Already, the ban of the Azir. Spyrax is very, very good at that champion, has basically become the new emperor of Shurima after the last few performances we've seen. And, of course, Insanity, just insane with a lot of the aggro he plays in that mid lane.
Yeah, watching FlyQuest go up against Team Liquid last week was really fascinating, because on the one hand, the game that Team Liquid was dominating, Spyrax turns it around, right? He just eats them all into the fountain, and suddenly, they're able to find a win. But the game where FlyQuest are beating Team Liquid, they're not able to close it out either. So Team Liquid was kind of able to showcase that they have some resilience, they have some play to them, and as long as they calm down, as long as they don't do it, you know, Kelsey and I have had a lot of discussion about like whether or not chasing kills in the fountain is good play or not. Team Liquid should have won that game. Let's be real. But Cyrax was able to turn around. So we will see if they turn it around this time. And yes, FlyQuest. At least they recognize that Seraphine is too good to allow their team to pick up. Yes! Yes!
This
yes!
is a surprise to me. Okay,
Screw
so
you, Gubby. The champion is broken.
my entire thoughts on Belveth was she was going to be something that's picked a little bit later in the draft, because you kind of have to design an entire composition around her, an entire strategy around her. So it's actually really shocking to me to see her picked so often, especially in these early phases of the draft.
I agree conceptually that when this champion is balanced, it will be picked later in the draft. But right now, champion is not balanced. You just got to pick it up for yourself. You got to early pick it. And so we are seeing Dignitas secure that for themselves. They have the Ezreal to go into the Callisto Renata, and this Rakan has started becoming a lot more popular as one of the primary engage tools, as like a pseudo enchanter. But the big thing is we saw Rosethorn have a lot of success on this Belveth, being able to control the map, being able to control multiple Rift Heralds, and off of 3 neutral objectives, ending the game. XU is now being challenged to do the same thing, and I feel like the composition thus far is already better suited than the one we saw CLG pick up, where this team composition will be better able to fight for Rift Heralds 1 and 2.
And it's a completely different style coming out from FlyQuest so far. In the bot lane, we've usually seen a lot of scaling coming out from the bot lane. Now they're just going for the straight hard push lane dominant Callisto Renata, where you're just looking for level 1, level 2 to push those waves and take early fights, as well as the Volibear. We haven't seen UG on the Volibear. He's been mainly a Wukong specialist throughout the entirety of the split so far, so a lot of changes coming out for FlyQuest into this match.
Yeah, and I like this bottom lane, right? If you have Toma and Diamond who are playing with the cheat codes on, as the meme continues to be, they will continue to look quite good. But Spawn and JJ are some of our players. Spawn, I think, has actually been our best performing marksman so far in summer. He's been looking really good, right? Between him and Yan, there's an argument like which one is actually doing better. But Toma and Diamond, as these 2 veterans coming in for FlyQuest, we know that they can really beat up on a lot of other bottom lanes, and if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And so giving them a very strong bottom lane to play with allows FlyQuest to potentially skip the really long kind of awkward mid games that they've been having and just get to the part of the game where Tomo and Diamond can win.
Yeah, I want to jump on that point right there, the mid game. They always have good stats coming into the mid game, but they always have a hard time closing out afterwards. So that's going to be a big point here for FlyQuest Academy, as they have a very aggressive draft to start this one off. For Dignitas Academy, I mean, you have the poke there, you have the Belveth, which is already getting me excited. So as we head into the second phase of the draft, Ahri left on the table. FlyQuest going to take that for Spyrax.
And with the LeBlanc as a primary counter pick already off the table, and Sandy's Corki also removed, it almost makes me wonder if he's going to be willing to go for something like a Vel'Koz, right? Something that has a lot of range and provides that AoE slow that can lock down Tomo in the upcoming team fights. But it is a situation where we know Dignitas have to, you know, pick their mid lane and get their top lane at the same time. Okay, wait. Isn't Spyrax the only person who's played Swain so far?
I'm pretty sure we've seen one more Swain on top of this. We will confirm that a little bit later, but yeah, Swain getting locked in for Dignitas Academy. And of course, it's Tony Top, man. What else is he going to play? Jax.
It's Jax. The Camille taken off the table. He goes right back on to Old Faithful. And now Kumo is kind of been like struggling a lot in his laning phases, right? He's not necessarily able to find a whole lot of advantages. And then I think it's like one of the leading factors towards kind of being lost, but the Riven coming through. Okay, this is a crazy skill matchup that these guys are opting into up into the top lane. If one of them starts getting ahead, and if Riven starts building a lead, they push Jax back, and Jax does not get to play until like 3-4 items. But if Jax finds a lead here, Riven doesn't get to play at all the entire game. And so Dignitas, they're throwing a lot of gauntlets down. They have a very short-range composition, but if it can get in, it is hard to dislodge them.
I am so excited for this one. Gauntlet thrown down in the top lane. Riven versus Jax. It's going to be some good stuff. I did look up that stat for you, Josh, by the way. Triple and Saligo have played at this split so far.
Oh, Saligo, that's right.
I do remember Saligo. He did play it with the Imperial Mandate Rylas, just played it as a team fighter in the center to get that implication there.
I don't like that build, but we will see what Insanity chooses to go with, right? You have a couple of different options. It's probably going to be a Leandri's or maybe even a Riftmaker to try and stay in these fights. But this is the thing, right? You have a lot of sustained damage over long fights coming out from the side of Dignitas. However, they don't really have the burst. And one of the things we always look at with Bel'Veth, just like Jinx, just like with any other reset champion, if you can burst the first champion, and you can unlock your reset champion, your team fights become so much easier. And that's like the number one thing I feel like we're missing coming out from Dignitas is trying to find that first kill.
The sustained damage and the poke damage is definitely there, though.
Yeah.
And of course, the threat of a pick is big when you have Dignitas' comp, both with the Swain and the Rakan itself. So we'll see how that does pan out. We are ready to head on to the Rift now. Dignitas Academy versus FlyQuest Academy. We're getting another Bel'Veth Joshi.
Let's
feels
go.
so good.
Fishy, fishy.
Fishy, fishy, fishy.
Okay. Kumo taking Knight up to the top lane. He wants to fight. He's ready to go. I cannot imagine we are going to see the same number of kills in the first 20 minutes this game as we did last time. And also probably nowhere near the CS numbers on our AD carries.
Okay, it's going to be a fight in the top side. You can't change my mind. Who gets first blood onto that one? In the bubble of top lane, not first blood as a whole.
Okay, in the bubble of top lane?
Yeah.
I feel like Tony. I feel like Tony's probably going to win it out, right? We've been seeing that his laning phases have been definitely up to par with what we've been expecting, and this is his signature champion, right? Well,
Yeah.
Kumo has been playing a lot of things like the Ornn and the Kale, these big scaling champions. We know he's a legacy Riven player, but I haven't seen him play it in forever.
I think we've seen Tony play it more recently than we've seen Kumo, so a little bit of a throwback here. As that matchup is going to go. I'm going to give it to Kumo. I think Yuji is going to interfere with his top side. I know he's pathing towards the bottom lane, but on the reset, I expect shenanigans, Josh.
Yeah. So I'm trying to look into when it was played. He did play it once in spring, Kumo did, but he lost that game. I'm not sure who it was going up against. I'll have to do a little bit more digging at some point. But it is a situation where, like, this champion, we've seen it a little bit in, like, the Proving Grounds circuit qualifiers, but it's one of those things where, like, if you pick it, you are committed to saying, I'm going to carry this game. And I don't know if Kumo is that kind of player.
We're going to have to find out. We're definitely going to have to find out. This is, like, the biggest challenge that he could take on, Tony tops Jax, when it comes to Academy. You know, there's there's a few signature champions that come to mind. You know, the Vigar of Insanity. Also on Dignitas to throw that one out. But that challenge of such proficiency against Tony Top is not going to be the most fun for Kumo unless he can get that lead.
Yeah, I mean, this level 1 does make sense for him as he is kind of winning that out, but we kind of want to pay some attention to XU as well, right? Because there's a lot of skill expression on the Bel'Veth, even though it's like a little hard to pick up on, right? Just making sure you use all of your Qs in order to move rapidly around these camps and also move rapidly around the map, right? If you are able to angle them correctly, you can very quickly move between camps, stack up that attack speed, and really clear a lot faster than a lot of other junglers would be able to match. And right now we are seeing Yuji, despite being on the Volley Baron as a relatively fast clearer, is getting put behind the pace.
Yeah, just barely meeting the red buff now. Killing the red buff is going to be XU. So just simple full clears coming out for both junglers onto this one to start it off. And they're going to end up on the bot side, which is definitely a big factor here considering it's Kalista Renata. It's a very aggressive lane to play off of. If you can set up something down here, they can definitely complement you with that back-end damage.
Yeah, Bel'Veth is a pretty uninspiring ganker, right? Like, you basically have your Q dash in, and then you throw out your tail whip and reduce their defenses a little bit, and if it lands, you get a knock-up and a bit more damage to come through. But if you don't land that knock-up, you're like, okay, goodbye, we're done. Let's go back to the jungle, and that's exactly what we're saying XU do. Go back to the jungle, not really going to be able to contest Yuji, and while Yuji does show where he is on the map, he's not going to find anything other than maybe some wards.
Getting that deep ward there, that information, so valuable when going against the Bel'Veth. XU is playing towards the mid lane right now, and the recall already called by Yuji, so Spyrex is not going to have anything to back him up. Looking for the crowd control is the big thing here, trying to play off that Swain, but unable to land any.
Yeah, okay. Kumo, he should get this, but does he live?
Oh, okay, smite it away. XU will secure that one. Now Kumo trying to get away, has to burn Flash to escape.
that's rough, right? Even though Kumo is coming out slightly ahead in the actual laning phase thus far, the fact that he gets that smited away and loses Flash makes it so much harder to actually play out the lane, because he has Ignite. He doesn't have a way back into lane. Tony Top can just back away and teleport back, have all his health and mana and an item advantage. And so this is when we're going to see Tony Top have more of an advantage to play with and potentially able to take down Kumo.
Yeah. I mean, the saving grace here is something you had mentioned earlier. Bel'Veth isn't exactly the biggest ganker, isn't going to have the biggest impact trying to show up over on this top side. A lot of this is going to play on how Tony Top sets that wave, if XU would ever show up over there. But I think XU has his attention over towards this bottom side. Dragon is now available on the map. Still got a hard shove coming out of Tomo and Diamond.
Yeah, slappy fish. It's so funny watching like Bel'Veth just clear out all of these minions and clear out the camps, right? Because you're just dashing back and forth in order to keep your attack speed up. But at the same time, we are seeing some small laning advantages come through. Tomo and Diamond will remain up about a wave after this wave is cleared out by Spawn and JJ, and using the priority they've built up with the more aggressive, more powerful laning duo in the Kalista Renata, they will also be able to get this first dragon getting picked up.
I like this from FlyQuest. It plays towards their early game exactly the way they drafted, as they did go for the Volibear, Kalista, and Renata early. And for a very clear condition, you saw the Bel'Veth. I'm going to have to get used to saying that name. That was picked right away, B1 on the side of Dignitas. So picking that strong priority towards the bot lane is going to for sure deny that early Drake to come out of XU. So UG securing that will now have priority over towards that top side where he wants to deny that Herald.
Yeah, and this is it, right? This is what Bel'Veth is all about. You take over the Herald. It's going to be spawning in about 2 minutes, a little less. And that is going to be when we have to look at Tony Top and ask, does he have priority? Can he build it? Can he fight to the death for it to make sure that Kumo can't participate? Because that's when the map really opens up. That's when this Bel'Veth is kind of make or break. If you can win this first Rift Herald fight, if you can pick up the Rift Herald, we saw an entire turret disappeared off of it when Rosethorn got it. A very similar thing could happen now.
Interesting move coming out here. Still got 1:10 before the Herald comes up. XU setting a lot of deep vision to spot out UG. That control ward is going to spot out UG, so XU will know positioning there. But what is he going to do with it? He doesn't want to fight with this Volibear anytime soon.
True. And so, now, Tony Top, his wave is coming back. There's not a lot of help going towards him to try and create some space. And both supports currently hovering towards the mid lane, but neither of them are really committing towards being up here on the top side to actually play for this Rift Herald. And I feel like both teams kind of need to opt into it, right? I said that Cloud9, they needed to opt into it, even though it was a not ideal situation because of how much of a lead that CLG was going to get. Dignitas, I feel like if they set up and they do this correctly, they put FlyQuest in another similar situation where even if the fight's not good, FlyQuest would have to take it.
Shoving in the wave, Kumo will have priority over there for that Rift Herald that was just talked about. Tony Top just shoved into the tower, so the rest of Dignitas using that priority over in the mid lane. Minion waves cleared, already unlocking JJ to go up with that roam on top of it. XU will start up the Herald.
And we have so many people here, but Kumo is heading towards the bottom side right now.
Right. UG's in, gets the lockdown, but there's 3 members of Dignitas waiting. FlyQuest finally able to rejoin. Will chase away, get UG to some form of safety as the True Shot Barrage cuts right through FlyQuest. But still looking for the contention as FlyQuest pulled right back in by Insanity. A chunk of damage. They're looking for a contest. FlyQuest are trying to fight for this.
And Kumo can walk in, so Spawn's in a really awkward position.
Oh, jumping in. Yuji goes in, tries to get the dunk onto Insanity. Insanity going to Demonic Ascension, bringing in a lot of that damage, but XU able to secure it. Now First Blood goes over, though. Spyrax able to get a kill onto Dignitas. Another one will be secured. Kumo going to be the recipient of that one. Yuji still chasing through. Will claim Tony Top. Tony almost able to return one. A Spyrax behind the tower forces the flash out of JJ. Might have been secured by Dignitas, but FlyQuest win the fight.
and the 3 kills getting picked up right now. You asked who first blood was going to be. Kumo picks up a kill before Tony Top does. We were asking, how are you going to be able to get the first reset as Dignitas? How are you going to allow XU to pop off? They killed the Herald, but it's too late, and because he dies, he loses his true form. There's no fishy to come through for XU. This is a huge domination win from FlyQuest, and they're quietly up 3,000 gold.
Big pickup from FlyQuest. Shove in that bot lane and send everyone for that Rift Herald fight. Try and deny XU that scaling that Bel'Veth can get. So the battle plan for FlyQuest so far working out.
So far working out great. So as we watch this fight, once again, pay attention to where Spawn is, and notice this is effectively a 4v5 for Dignitas. Even though Insanity is able to sustain a fair amount throughout the course of this team fight, they're not killing anyone. Yuji goes down to the burst of damage from XU, like taking the coral, but the bailout keeps him alive, and again, because he dies, the threat from Bel'Veth off of that fight is so much lower. FlyQuest showing a much better understanding on how to play around this champion than we saw earlier, and keeping Spawn out of the fight was critical.
Oh, JJ with the engage, gets a knock-up, hostile takeover, going to be returned. Spawn, a couple of autos onto JJ, but there comes XU looking to finish the job. Bailout used, will the kill come in time? Answer's going to be no.
Oh, the
XU
resets!
ascended, looking for more, trying to grab Diamond. JJ will grab that kill, and again, more resets coming for the Bel'Veth.
There you go, turning things around a little bit, but they're still down about 2,000 gold. Now they drop this, but notice there's no fishy, right? There's no Remoras being spawned out by XU, and he has to go back. He would rather just farm up than just sit here and not contribute a whole lot to actually taking the turret. So Dignitas, they turn around their misfortunes a little bit, and giving Spawn a kill will accelerate him into the fight, and Dignitas have another chance around the upcoming dragon, around the upcoming Rift Herald, right? If they get that one, the chances are still alive for Bel'Veth to take over.
I mean, the win condition is very clear, set and solid when you have a Bel'Veth, and FlyQuest are trying to meet it, but smart of XU to attack over into that bottom lane. Let's take another look at that attack that came through. Really, the engage out of JJ here was so beautiful.
Yeah, they just didn't know that XU was here, and even though they dived into the Renata ulti, they're still able to get there. And remember what we were talking about, the Bel'Veth E does damage to whatever target has the least amount of HP, because all the minions were full HP. XU is just able to hit the one target that he needs to, get the true form, and just continue to find these resets. So that might be the answer, right? If Spawn is strong enough and he can dive in and trade his life in a 1-for-1 and allow XU to carry, that is one way for Dignitas to find that first reset and really enable XU.
I mean, XU stayed up. The bailout, if that went through, that would have been so disastrous. It would have been a big pickup coming out for FlyQuest, but denied completely from that movement of XU. Now XU towards this bottom lane. So are FlyQuest. So is Yuji. Diamond hovering around, JJ and Spawn getting a little bit of poke onto Tomo ahead of time. XU still with the hover down here. You see that Spyrex and Yuji are itching for play.
Yeah, JJ does have his ultimate if he wants to go for it, but XU going to be backing away. Needs to be careful about losing too much of his jungle. At the same time, this duel really won by Kumo so far, right? He's in way more control of the lane. He's had it for basically the entire game so far, and now that he got a kill and 2 assists, already has the Gore Drinker, it's very difficult for Jax to play for quite a while, right? We're really looking for him to have his Trinity Force or Divine Sunder before he even gets to consider fighting Kumo again.
And shutting down this Jax might be the name of the game for FlyQuest. Spyrex
shutting
not
down the
going to
Manta
commit
Ray
right now. Yeah, shutting down the Manta Ray might be the bigger objective. The Charm going to land onto XU. Secures the blue buff, now trying to get away from the grasp of Yuji, but Slam Jam, thank you, ma'am. Able to follow through and take down XU. Sanity will escape to his tower.
Thanks, Skimmy. It's been a while since I've heard that. But it is going to be a situation, right? XU doesn't have any ways to escape from these fights in this Bel'Veth. We're seeing the other part of how to deal with it, right? The win conditions for Bel'Veth are very straightforward, and FlyQuest didn't make the same mistake of Cloud9, who, based on the way that Copy was talking about it, he's like, yeah, he said it very politely, but he's like, yeah, we thought this champion was trash. So we never really learned how to do anything about it, but FlyQuest was like, oh, we know what this champion does. Let's fight it. Let's actually make sure that it can't do anything. If it doesn't get off the ground, it's just like Master Yi, it's just like Viego. If it can't reset, champion's useless.
Just stopping Dignitas on all ends. Not just the Bel'Veth, but Tony Top, who's been attacked multiple times.
Tony
only died
stopped.
once. Yeah, Tony completely stopped, and Oh, Kumo versus Tony over here on this top side. Tony trying to get a little better for himself. And Tony on this Jax, I mean, he's at least so far in the split 3-0. So very, very good at this champion. One of his favorites to pick. And Kumo really bringing the pain to that comfort.
True, but Kumo hasn't done a whole lot to actually extend his lead thus far. And now Dignitas are the first to make a play.
Dignitas coming around the corner, looking for the engage is JJ. Hops over, can't get Kumo. Now the rest of FlyQuest looking
Everyone's
close in. No ultimate available for Yuji, so can't get over the wall, just has to run point blank at them. Dignitas back out in time. Rift Herald available, and we started up by Dignitas.
Ooh, Insanity rushed the Rylai's as well, so he keeps people in fights for long periods of time, but there's a lot of damage has gone through back and forth, and Dignitas, I don't know if they're strong enough to take this fight right now, but they have to try.
Sanity's thinking it. He has flash, he has stopwatch. He can stay in this fight for a long time. Kumo looking for an engage on the spawn, doesn't get it. Hostile takeover gonna go out, lands onto 3, and there's the engage. Diamond will find one onto JJ. Insanity hopping in with that demonic ascension. It's doing a lot of work. It's slow and it's low in
That's
the
the reset.
bars. One picked in. There's the reset going through as Dignitas looking to find more. A double kill. Make it more for Dignitas as Kumo will be the only survivor to tell the tale of XU's Belveth.
And XU, he's going to walk mid. They're going to get this entire turret. Watch. It's going to be absolutely nuts as he starts getting the fishy. There's one. There's a couple. As it starts to come through, there's going to be so many fish here for them to just take down the turret. There's the Rift Herald. This turret is gone. And they can chain it into the Dragon as well because of how far ahead XU suddenly got. This turret...
One fight.
These minions don't die. They're not even targeted, right? The cannon is the first one, and these minions do so much more damage than your regular minions. And look, another wave.
Another wave coming through, another crash into the tower.
So many fishies!
So many fishies. Shooting fish in a barrel, sure, but man, this is shooting fish in the ocean. XU bringing so much to that mid lane, and now going to be rewarded with a Drake on top of it.
Yeah, remember how FlyQuest were up 3k after the first Rift Herald? The game is now even once again, and XU, well, they only got one turret off the Rift Herald. It's not the 2 turrets that we saw coming out from CLG. Now Belveth actually gets to really play the game. If you can start chaining these abilities to get your true form, it allows you to play even more aggressively. In XU, while he doesn't have escapes, he can go in, but doesn't quite get the blue buff.
Spyrex will secure that for himself, but you see that XU feels the flow, feels the
goodbye.
momentum towards the spot side. Top side, however, belongs to FlyQuest and Yuji. Kumo on the dive, take down Insanity. The fight going to continue. XU trying to lay it down into Spyrex, who will dash away. JJ and XU unable to get much else other than control.
But they will trade the bottom lane turret, but that's one of the big things that we have to pay attention to over the course of the game. How well do you play the cross map? So far, FlyQuest are getting more out of it. They get the inner turret, which is worth way more gold and gives you way more map control than the outer turret. But Tony, he's trying. He's scaling. He's down
He's scaling.
half an item, an entire item.
He's working his way up there.
Kumo, even though he's lost his previous Riven game this season, he's in control. He has the power to be the primary carry for FlyQuest. That's not a position we typically see from Kumo, because when we look at his like mid-game map rotations, he's oftentimes in places that don't make the best sense. But we know that later on in the game, he will team fight well, he will show up at around like the 30-40 minute mark, and he will always be able to participate. And Riven never really falls off if you can find your flanks.
Oh yeah, and Riven has some of the nastiest flanks possible. We'll see if
Chance.
Kumo can make that happen. Sanity looking for a flank of his own. Control ward right there, spots him out. JJ still looking to follow through. Spirit Rush is available, Flash is not, so getting the ultimate to be burnt out of Spyrax is not really going to result in too much, though, as there's nothing on the map to really gather for Dignitas.
Yeah. And we're seeing the same build actually come through for XU as we saw from Rosethorn, right? Rosethorn went Kraken Slayer into Death's Dance. I'm a bit more partial to higher damage builds, but regardless, right, just as Chad was, I think it was Chad who was saying, it's like, you generally want to be... Yeah, he was, or, no, it was a Caden who was like, Blade of the Rune King into like Frostfire Gauntlet, right? Something a little bit more tanky. And that's one of those differences that you see coming through from solo queue versus competitive, is the Belveth wants to be able to survive, and it's a little bit harder to get that first reset in a competitive environment than it is in a solo queue environment. But XU, you know, he's doing a good job farming up. He's at a decent spot where he can actually stay alive and keep himself in a position where he might be able to stay alive for the first reset that we've already identified is kind of tough for Dignitas to provide.
Trying to set up over on this bottom side. Interesting out of Dignitas. It looks like they were trying to exploit the Spirit Rush being down for Spyrax, but they couldn't really find too much over there. And again, FlyQuest are not pressured at the state of the game. You still have 2 minutes before the dragon does spawn, under a minute before the Rift Herald does come down. So you are going to start to see some map movements coming to FlyQuest. They got to start shifting a lot of that pressure towards this top side. We'll see if they can meet it there. Still keeping Spyrax spot.
Spyrax, I feel, is... Oh.
Counter-Strike lands. Teleport going to be used. It will be Spawn showing up to the fight over on this top side, but Kumo with the hop over the wall will be fine. Still, though, Dignitas are looking for the dive, looking for the re-engage onto Kumo.
They're committed.
Kumo hops away, has to burn his flash in the process, but the minion wave is crashing into the tower, and not enough time has been bought for anyone of FlyQuest to respond. One more knockup to go through, and Dignitas playing towards this top side, making sure they're playing towards that Baron side on top of it.
Yeah, the shutdown comes through, right? We were saying that Kumo can sometimes find him spots in places that don't necessarily make the most sense. This time he walks into 3 members of Dignitas, gets teleported on, and the turret is traded. But at the same time, we saw the bottom lane turret go down. Spyrax picked that up, and he's getting free time alone with the inner turret in the bottom lane. Even though he doesn't get the gold off of it, you don't get partial credit.
Here we go now. Teleporting in is going to be Tony Top. He's looking for Spyrax. Spyrax has his flash. He has his Spirit Rush. Has all the tools he needs to get out of this one. Not even going to burn the flash in the process, just the Spirit Rush. So that's the best case scenario for Spyrax.
But for Dignitas, they have a lot more control on the map, right? Because of how late they chose to actually go for this play, Spyrax does not have his ultimate for the upcoming dragon fight. And that's an alternative win condition for Dignitas. They don't stop the back, but now they're here first. And that means that FlyQuest has to come in. FlyQuest has to commit to the fight. And Kumo, 15 seconds on the dragon, he doesn't get here in time.
FlyQuest, let's see if they can burn some time to get that ultimate back up for Spyrax. Dignitas surrounding this area, and FlyQuest might play to what Dignitas were playing to last game. You can see them already positioning around the Baron. Dignitas, they don't have any vision in that area, haven't pinged it out just yet. Starting up the Baron's going to be FlyQuest.
That's bold. Now Dignitas, they know what's going on. They've got the ability to check, and now everybody's coming over. XU will have true form.
This is hard. This is hard to smite fight Callista. This should be secured by FlyQuest right now. Dignitas will look to take the engage. Now here comes Insanity. You're going to be all cornered in with the Demonic Ascension. So much damage coming out of Dignitas as they look to clean a house against FlyQuest. Tony Top able to grab one. Kumo trying to get over the wall. Will try to take Tony Top with them. Answer will be no onto that one as Spawn claims the kill, but FlyQuest with the Baron.
They take the Baron off the table. That really puts a damper on how you're supposed to play this Bel'Veth, but the 2 kills, that might be enough with the gold basically even.
Oh, flash finally burned out of Spyrax. Had to get away from Spawn.
Yeah, I mean, they just waddled into the Baron pit, and Insanity taking total control of that position as well, right? His circle perfectly encapsulates what you actually see from Dignitas. They are so much better in these like tight corridors than what we can see from FlyQuest. And even though this fight starts as a 4v5, nobody on Dignitas goes down because of how long they're able to stay in the fight. It's a little bit chaotic, and the smite goes over to FlyQuest, but XU at the very end still able to look for these opportunities to reset in order to try and find additional kills. Even though he gets, a couple corals and gets his true form, doesn't find any further advantage, but 1 dragon away from Ocean Soul. We still call that a win.
Yeah, what a ballsy call to come out of FlyQuest. They're #1 in the league when it comes to taking the first Nashor, and you can obviously see why now. Dignitas are looking for a response right here. Going forward, almost able to land onto Diamond and Tomo, but they will escape. Dignitas still finding their response.
But they're still down a little bit in gold. And FlyQuest, even though their mid games have been kind of rocky, right? They are still in a spot where Spyrax can look for these picks. Spyrax has gone off on a number of recent games. The Azir, his ability to play things like the Akali, and now he's on the Ahri. If he finds a pick, this turret goes down, and FlyQuest happy to just kind of line up and shoot at this turret with the cannon minions because they feel as though they are going to be stronger for the upcoming dragon fight.
The good thing here is you do have some poke coming out from Spawn being on this Ezreal, so the Mystic shots act as some way to clear out some of those cannons safely. But FlyQuest, they just want to keep the pressure in. They're controlling the map vision. They're utilizing this Baron buff, now trying to go for the siege onto the mid lane. A knockup goes through, but FlyQuest will not be dissuaded. They take the turret, and they will start their way on out. A good cash-in coming out, and Dignitas, they're struggling to find a response, Josh. I'm not sure where it's going to come from.
Struggling to find a response. I mean, I think it comes with the Ocean Solva, and also the fact that, yes, FlyQuest got the mid lane turret, but that took you your entire Baron buff. That's not a particularly successful Baron coming through from FlyQuest, and now Dignitas, I feel like they are going to be very happy to fight at the upcoming Dragon. We already said that they are playing for the Ocean Soul, but XU, even though we haven't necessarily seen him have the most successful of fights, he's still stacking up, right? Something that we haven't even touched on this character's kit is every time you kill a champion or you take down a large or epic monster, you get permanent attack speed on your character. He's been stacking for 25 minutes.
He's going to slap really fast, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, stabby fish.
Not
Right,
stab.
you have your
slap.
stabby cat.
I
What's both?
refuse to call it
You can-
stabby. Slappy.
Can it not be both?
Stabby,
Stabby
slap.
and slappy. It depends on like which auto attack animation you go for.
I think you would know better. You've already met the respawn off of that last little North American update. Now, Yuji getting a little bit intimate with the bot lane of Dignitas as he takes a couple of Mystic shots to the back. Rest of Dignitas fighting for position on the Rift.
Yeah. And Tony Top going with a rather low damage build, right? He's got the Frozen Heart, which is a great item in terms of his ability to stay in these fights. But I don't know if it's what the team needs, right? They don't need Tony Top to stay alive during these long team fights. Of course, we love Tony Top. We hope he lives a long life. But maybe not in League of Legends. In this particular... I'm going to stop talking now.
I don't know. I feel a lot of low-key hate for Tony Top coming out for you right now, Josh. You got some explaining to do, friend.
Well, now we get to line up and actually go for the fight, right? Spawn is kind of uncontested here, except for the charms, and Dignitas, they are muscling their way right back on it. Oh, there we go!
A nice catch coming out from Insanity, but there's the hostile takeover returned. Jumping back in is going to be Yuji, goes after Tony Top, but Kumo all by himself, jumps into 5 and gets dropped. Now Tomo looking for the escape, knocked up right into the air. Dig will pop him down with the Mystic shot.
Slap
Diamond
him.
will follow his marksman, and a big team fight win coming out for Dignitas.
Two people on FlyQuest getting caught there, not able to participate in the fight. It's just a catch coming through, and Dignitas, once again, this Rakan, we saw it from Breezy earlier, now it's JJ controlling when the fights actually take place, and the Ocean Soul getting picked up by Dignitas. I don't know if FlyQuest can actually do enough damage now. Tomo has no gold.
Dignitas, a big play. Dragon Soul now in their pocket. Look at how good Spawn's been doing, picking up so many of these kills. Take a look at the gold. 2K separating our bot laners, Tomo and Spawn, 6-0 and 5. In these drawn-out team fights, these Mystic shots mean so much.
And now Dignitas, they are moving towards the top side of the map, and look how fast XU is auto-attacking, and that will continue to get faster as the game goes on. But remember what we were talking about with Rosethorn. This is now a position where XU can potentially try and solo out the Baron if he gets the idea that nobody's watching. Whoa! Whoa!
He wants to slap. He's looking for someone to slap. Now the engage comes through from Dignitas, but the return of a knockup is big from FlyQuest. Now Tony Top comes in with Counter-Strike, gets the stun onto Spyrax. Spyrax runs low. Will he run out of this fight? A Mystic shot gets close to landing on him, but he's able to just slide on out. No longer has the Spirit Rush, no longer has the Flash. Even though Dignitas lose one, they're still in better position as they pull in Kumo. Still looking for a little bit more poke. Now the handshake lands onto Insanity. Demonic Ascension going to use teleport. Tony Top looking for the flank onto the teleport. They jump onto Spyrax, and Spyrax realizing that was a bad decision. Insanity grabs that kill.
Ooh, extra Messi. Messi is learning, but Messi might be meaning a Dignitas win here.
Messi. Woo, woo, woo. That Mystic shot. Tomo felt that one.
Yeah, now Yuji trying to come on in, but XU can just start hitting this on his own. The damage Spawn is able to put out, prevents FlyQuest from walking in. And the rest of Dignitas going to be slowly hitting this. They remain very healthy because of the fact that they have the Ocean Soul. The only thing they need to do is make sure Yuji can't enter.
Kumo trying to get on the spawn, but instantly gets charmed up by JJ, and the rest of Dignitas follow through. Hostile takeover. Spawn will take that kill, godlike he is, and Baron going over to Dignitas.
And this might be the end of the game, right? We saw
Oh,
this with
yeah.
Rosethorn. We saw this with
Here it
Renata
comes.
in general.
Here
Here
it
comes
comes.
the fishies.
The Fishy, a full school of them, are now going to be appearing over in the top lane. XU on this Belveth, looking to close this one out right now. It's in the playbook for Dignitas.
Look, and it doesn't even get fully cleared. Stab,
Oh.
stab, 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 stabby fish.
Stab, stab, slap, slap. More slap, 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 more slap. Okay, maybe a stab on that one. But with that last slap, Dignitas claim an inhibitor tower. FlyQuest, no response.
Okay, well, Dignitas going to be letting up the pressure a little bit. They still have the Ocean Soul, and they still have plenty of time. Now, the big question is going to be, how much time do they have left? They still, it looks like about a minute left on XU's true form on this Manta Ray, or Moth, depending on who you ask. But now, they just go to another lane. They still have the Baron. The Remoras get access to the Baron buff as well. And so as Dignitas start to push forward, they can push Kumo back.
Tony Top with the teleport to do just that to Kumo. The rest of Dignitas surrounding this bot lane river. XU.
Okay.
He's not looking for the team fights timer. He's looking for the team slap timer. Now we're going to slap up that blue buff. We'll be able to secure that. FlyQuest want nothing to do with that. Want no more slaps. Their face is feeling a little bit red. Cheeks rosy.
Okay, but where are the fishies? Here comes a wave of minions that are going to be turned into fishies.
Alright, more slaps onto the tower. FlyQuest just backing out. XU looking for a pick.
Yes, fishies.
More fishies. More and more fishies. Need a sushi chef on the side of FlyQuest to handle this.
Where's Alex?
Oh yeah. Mad Magical. Hope you're casting some of the games of Belveth.
Yeah, I hope you
seeing
get
some
some
of these
Belveth.
sieges.
Yeah, Dignitas. They are in a pretty dominant position. They still have super minions that are already in the base of FlyQuest, and it
Oh,
is
man.
so hard
Yeah,
for them
top
to
lane.
walk over.
The top lane, there's the super minions. Push by Insanity in the mid lane. Dignitas setting up into the bottom lane, and right away, FlyQuest back out. You have
they
to
have
give
to.
respects, man.
They have to give over so much pressure, and now they just rinse and repeat in the mid lane.
Knock up onto Kumo, but it's only to dissuade them from going anywhere near the rest of their base. Final inhib gonna go down. This might be the last team fight. Hostile Taker goes out, but it is wide. Tomo still trying to position a good spot where he can get that back in damage for the collision, but a knock-up goes through from XU. Spyrax critically low. JJ dives deep, and the rest of FlyQuest gets swatted like flies. A slap a left, a right, an uppercut coming out from XU, and Dignitas will take game number 1.
And Belveth finds 2 wins in 2 games on twitch.tv/academy. This champion is nuts. This champion needs to be first pick or ban every single game until it's nerfed. They already nerfed this champion on 12-12, and it doesn't matter. This champion still needs another nerf, and we get to see that Dignitas, even though their first Rift Herald fight was disastrous, you get to try again, and then you get to try again, and then you get to try again, and only one of them ever needs to work, and Dignitas was
Yeah.
able to find their wins.
Yeah, that's really it, isn't it? We've seen it twice. Belveth's messing up in the early game, but you get to try again, and when it succeeds big for Dignitas. We've been talking a lot about the Belveth. I think it's fantastic. I think it's awesome. It definitely is overpowered.
Yeah.
But what about Spawn, man? His scoreline at the end of that, 8-0-8.
Spawn looked very, very good in this game, and I can't wait to see more of his Ezreal. I think he might be our best AD carry in summer, and we'll get to see more of him.
Yeah, we will get to see more after a break, of course, because our players are getting ready for game number 2. We are going to throw it over to that break. When we come back, we'll have Mazel here for intermission.